This car is the Taurus T3 from Weaver Sport, and it's the first time that I race with it. I actually drove an earlier version of this in the summer for 2 days, but that was in Europe. So I'm really happy to be here in Morocco. There's excellent terrain for testing. I need to become familiar with the car, understand how the weight shifts on the dunes and in the sand. It's going to be very different than the test I did in Europe. I've already, seen ways that I can improve and ways to understand the car. It feels very powerful. It feels very steady and stable, and I'm really happy to be in it. And now it's just a matter of understanding it. And the goal is by the end of the testing to feel like I am, merged with the car. It's like one piece, sort of like your legs, right? This is the idea. When you can have that feeling and you're connected, you're so connected with the machine, I think that's when you can cross the terrain fast. So let's see. Dakar 2024, I'm excited. There is this new way to do the marathon stage. The new idea is to do 600 kilometers in the space of 48 hours. And they have 7 mini camps across those kilometers. So the idea is that you stop at the closest camp wherever you are in the afternoon of the day. So you look at it as one 600 kilometer stage, but you divide it into 2 days or 48 hours. And that's going to be a little bit of a different psychology. So usually we look at the day stage for the marathon, then we spend overnight in this camp in the empty quarter, and then we do the second day. We go back to the mechanics. Here it's going to be different because, for example, you could do 20% of the 600 Ks on day one because maybe you have an issue, or you could do 70% of it on day one. So I think it's exciting. I think it leaves room for a lot of variables to come in. I think it makes for a more uncertain finish. So let's see. I love racing in Saudi Arabia, primarily because I grew up there and that's where I'm from, but also because I get to discover my own country. So many people, they travel the world to discover new places, and I love doing that too. I love going to different continents, countries. However, a lot of times we usually miss our own backyard. So I think that Dakar gave me a really good opportunity to really get to know my own country, and I think that's a lucky thing. I enjoyed every kilometer. I had such a good time driving, and even when I got back to the camp, I felt like I could keep going. It was really a joy and a pleasure, and I drove in a way that I had no regrets. Right? I made mistakes. I made driving mistakes, sure, and one big one actually, but no regrets because I learned from them, and I knew why I had made them. I understood myself. I started driving on the public roads 2006 when I was 17, but I started racing in 2019 in the UAE. I was living there, I was working there, and I had a motorcycle. And the local track, Dubai Autodrome, has open track days. So I'd take this motorcycle and just keep going to the track days every weekend. And then a few months into that, I started racing in the National Cup for superbikes. The cup I was in was called the Ducati Cup because that's the bike that I had. That was in 2019, so that's how I started. And so with Toyota, I am sponsored by Abdulatif Jameel, the distributor and dealer in Saudi Arabia. They are my partner until January Dakar 2025. So the idea, since January 2022. So the idea is over these 3 years that we would really focus on development and improvement in my driving and my performance in the T3 category, with plans to see how I end up being as a driver in 2025, and then look from there. Being from Saudi Arabia and being a rally driver is something new, for sure. I like that it gives people ideas on what they could do, and more than that, even if they don't want to get into rally or that's not something interesting, I think it's important that it sparks this idea of, okay, that's something new. I mean, maybe I don't want to do that, but maybe I'll do something else that's new. So this idea that you can do something positive and good and develop in it and grow in it, even if it hasn't been done so much before. I think that's the idea that I would like people to take from what I'm doing.